Hello everybody and welcome to Tabletop Unhinged, our new channel where we talk about everything tabletop related. So on this channel we're going to be doing board game reviews, we're going to be doing playthroughs, all sorts of different stuff related to tabletop gaming. So I wanted to start out our new channel by going through some of the games that Anna and I got for Christmas in 2020, since it is now January 1st. That way we can, start out the new year right with some new board games. So that's what we're going to do today. So the first one that we have is called the Grimwood. Now, the Grimwood is a nice little pocket-sized game. You know, it's a little micro game. Only takes about 20 to 30 minutes to play. I think it took Anna and I, we played about 30 to 45 minutes because we were learning the rules and everything. And the Grimwood is a set collecting game. For those of you who have played something like Phase 10 in the past, you know, a game that you can get at any Walmart store or anything like that, any of those rummy type games where you're looking for sets or runs of different numbers and stuff like that, this has a similar feel to it. You are gathering sets of different things, like there's crows and owls. There's also land cards like clearings, swamps, and paths that you're collecting sets of. And you're also collecting sets of supernaturals, but which are just individual cards that have different abilities. They're actually like the demon and Dracula and ghouls and fairies, different things like that. And they're unique cards, and they each have a different ability. And that's what makes the difference between this game and a normal rummy type game, is that you have different abilities on different cards. So there's a card that lets you draw 2 more cards, there's a card that lets you take some more actions, there's a card that lets you block somebody stealing a card from you. And then, like I said, all of the supernatural cards, the demon and such, those will each have abilities on them as well, so that they can make it so that one of the other players has to discard one of their combos that they've put down, or you get to steal one of their combos, or all sorts of different things like that. And so it's a pretty simple game, and like I said, it plays in about 20 to 30 minutes. And it's a really good like travel game, and it's nice and pocket size. It's about the size of a deck of cards. You know what I mean? About the size of it's the size of a deck of cards, just has a few more than a normal deck would. So that is the first one. So next we have Kokoro, Adventure of the Kodama. Now, Kokoro is a cute little game, and this one can be played with 1 to 8 people. And this one's another. It's a micro game in the sense that it's a very short game. It only takes you about 15 minutes. This can be played with 1 player, or you can play with up to 8, like I said. And the entire idea is that you are the Kodama. You are trying to connect these different caterpillars and flowers. You're trying to connect those to the shrines, and you're trying to connect a larger number to them to each consecutive shrine. And whoever has the most caterpillars and flowers connected to their shrine at the end, as well as having some possibly connected to the spirits, kind of like gods, that's going to get you more points, and whoever has the most points at the end is going to be the winner. And so it is a very simple game. And like I said, it plays in about 15 minutes. I played it a couple of times by myself on Christmas Day while everybody was still asleep, since I work overnights. And it took me about 10 to 15 minutes both times that I played. And so it's a very simple game. Very easy to pick up. The rules are very simple and straightforward. And so this is a pretty good game especially for people who haven't gotten quite into board gaming yet, into tabletop gaming. It's a really good one. The next one I'm going to do, I'm actually going to do 2 at the same time because they are essentially the same thing, and that is Munchkin. And I got Anna Munchkin DuckTales and Munchkin Disney. So we've talked about Munchkin before in another video on our other channel, but just as a quick kind of review of it, Munchkin is essentially it's a spoof on Dungeons & Dragons. The goal is to get up to level 10, and you do that by defeating monsters. So it's a game that's played with 3 to 6 people, so you have to have at least 3 people, and essentially you go and you have 2 decks. You have a door deck and a treasure deck. So you kick down the door, which means you flip it over and see if it's a monster. If it's a monster, you have to fight it. And then if it's not a monster, then you can resolve that however it needs to be resolved. And the fun part of that game of Munchkin is it's very, very interactive. The players are all interacting with each other. Because when you're fighting a monster, if that monster's too strong, you can try to bribe or barter with somebody to help you out. You can say, this monster, if I kill this monster, I'm going to get 4 treasures. So if I kill this monster, I'll give you 2 out of those 4 treasures. And then I'll keep the other 2. And you can barter back and forth to see if you can get somebody to help you. But at the same time, there can also be another person who tries to screw you over and plays more cards to make the monster stronger. And so you kind of have both sides of it. It makes it very interactive, very fun. And then if you defeat the monster, you go up a level. It's pretty simple that way. And Munchkin has numerous, huge amounts of expansions. They continue to make expansions. So we have the DuckTales, the Disney, we have the standard, and we have expansion number 2 and 6 from the standard version. Yeah. And so it makes it play differently. And you can combine all of them, which is really fun. So you can be playing with DuckTales and Disney and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one that they have, and Shakespeare, Munchkin, and stuff like that. You can combine all of them together and make it kind of fun. So, and that's one of Anna's favorite games. She loves playing Munchkin, even though we don't get to play it that much. And so I was pretty excited to get that for her. Next game is actually one of my favorite new ones that Anna got me, and it is called Kingswood. Now, Kingswood is a game where you take on the role of a guild, and your guild is trying to gain more glory than the other guilds. And you gain glory by fighting monsters in the Kingswood, in the forest. And what you do is you go around, and this can be played with 1 to 6 players, I believe. Sorry, 1 to 5 players. It can be played with 1 to 5 players. And in this game, you go around to different parts of the village to try and gain resources like swords and spell books and hearts, to then take and go, and as well as gold coins, to take and use those to defeat any of the monsters. And then defeating each monster gives you a certain number of glory, and you play to 20. And that's in the 2 to 5 player game. There's also a solo variant, because Anna wanted to get me games like Kokoro and Kingswood. She wanted to get me games that I could play by myself, because like right now it's 4 o'clock in the morning on January 1st, and they're in there asleep because I work overnights. So right now it's daytime for me, and so she wanted to get me some games that I could play by myself and have something more to do. And so the solo variant of this is actually really fun as well, and I played that a couple of times. Essentially, you're just trying to keep the village from being overrun by monsters, so you're just fighting monsters on your own, you're ignoring the glory. You don't care about the glory, you just care about killing the monsters. And I did get a chance to play the multiplayer version. I played a 2-player game with my brother-in-law later on Christmas Day, and it plays really well. It's really fun. It's a little more on the confusing side at first, but once you get the hang of it, perfectly fine. Very, very simple. There's only a set number of things that you do. So Kingswood is another good one. And last but not least, this was one that Anna was extremely excited to get her hands on. I got her Tiny Towns. So Tiny Towns is, just like the title says, it's a game where you are making a tiny town. And your tiny town, you build your tiny town by, you have a 4x4 grid on your player board, and you gather resources and you put those onto that grid in a certain order. Once you get all of those on there that you need, you can then build that building, and you can build all sorts of different types of buildings that will get you different numbers of points based on all sorts of different kind of things that are going on. And so it has a lot of replayability, because the buildings that you are constructing, those will change from game to game, because you're shuffling each type of building up, and there's 4 of each type of building, so you're shuffling them all up, and you're only selecting 1, and so you'll have a different game each time. So you'll have different combos that you're going through that you can try to get. You have different things, all sorts of different things going on, and so it ends up really fun. This game can be played with 1 to 6 players. so it can be played solo, which I haven't tried the solo version yet, and I have just tried the multiplayer. I'm hoping to try that before the night is up, to try the solo version. And it's another game it's very simple. We're going to actually take it over and play it with her mother later today. But it's very simple, but you need to have somebody with you who is good at explaining rules or good at being able to understand the rules out of a rulebook. Because it can get a little bit confusing just from that aspect. It's still an easy game, it's still a simple game, but it just takes a little bit of know-how to kind of explain the rules, because that gets a little bit wonky. So those are all of the games that we got for Christmas this year, and they're ones that we're hoping to play more of in the year to come. So with this new channel, we are hoping to start into actually doing some playthroughs and some more reviews and different things for these tabletop games. Some of them will be me sitting down and playing solo variants of like Tiny Towns, Kokoro, and Kingswood, and some of them will be Anna and I sitting down together. We might try to record to make some videos where we're playing with a couple of our friends, so we have a larger group, just anything like that. So keep your eye out for those as we go along. We're pretty excited to get to do those. So anyway, that's going to be it for me for this week. So thank you all for joining me this week, and let's get out there and play some games.